In a lively Lagos neighborhood where everyone minded everyone's business, one salon stood out like a celebrity at a village wedding, Sade's signature hair studio. If your hair did not pass through Madame Sade's hands, people quietly assumed you were either broke or unserious about looking good. The air conditioning was always set to polar bear, the mirrors were bordered in gold, and the smell of expensive Moroccan oil fought a daily battle with the scent of burning hair tongs. Madame Sade was the high priestess. She was a woman who didn't believe in less is more. She wore silk turbans, rings on every finger, and a perfume that lingered in the room for 30 minutes after she left. Women traveled from the island just to have her lay their frontals. To get an appointment with Sade was to announce to the world that you had arrived. But being a signature woman came with a strange price. Lately, the regulars had started noticing things. Mrs. Ademola, a woman who lived for Owambe parties, complained of a heaviness every time she wore her custom-made wig from Sade. "Sade, my dear, this hair is beautiful," she'd whisper, rubbing her neck. "But why do I feel like I'm carrying a bucket of cement on my head? And the dreams, I keep dreaming of people walking behind me." Sade would just laugh, a loud musical sound that didn't quite reach her eyes. "Mrs. A, that is the weight of quality. Cheap hair is light. Original grade 13A human hair has a presence. You are just adjusting to the luxury." And like magic, the customers would believe her. Because in Lagos, who wants to admit they can't handle luxury? While Sade performed for the cameras and the clients, Ngozi, her lead assistant, watched from the shadows. Ngozi was a girl of few words but very sharp eyes. She was the one who noticed that Madame Sade never allowed the cleaners to touch the hair clippings. Every evening after the last client left, Sade would personally sweep the floor. She didn't put the hair in the bin. She put the strands, especially the long, natural ones, into small, velvet-lined drawers that were always locked. Ngozi once saw Sade talking to a drawer. It wasn't a talking to myself kind of thing. It was a negotiation. The turning point came on a Tuesday. Mrs. B.C. Lawson, the most feared woman in the neighborhood and a self-appointed chairperson of everything, was in for a refresh. The salon was packed. The gossip was flowing like wine. Suddenly, a strange drip-drip sound came from the ceiling. "Sade, is your AC leaking?" Mrs. B.C. asked, looking up at the white-painted zinc ceiling. Before Sade could answer, something landed on Mrs. B.C.'s shoulder. Then another. Tiny, white, wriggling maggots. The scream that erupted from Mrs. B.C. could have shattered the golden mirrors. "Jesus, blood of Zachariah!" she roared, jumping out of the chair. The salon turned into a scene from an action movie. Women were tripping over hairdryers. Assistants were running into the street. Sade stood paralyzed. She wasn't looking at the maggots. She was looking at the ceiling, her lips moving in a silent prayer or a silent apology. The zinc roof incident was the spark that lit the neighborhood on fire. Within hours, the WhatsApp groups were buzzing. The theory was simple. Something was rotting in Sade's ceiling. And in a neighborhood where spiritual is the default explanation for everything, people didn't think it was a dead rat. "Why would maggots fall on B.C. Lawson of all people?" the neighbors whispered. "That ceiling is hiding secrets." The once bustling salon became a ghost town. People would walk on the other side of the street just to avoid the bad vibes. Sade stayed inside. The lights dimmed. The polar bear AC finally turned off. Ngozi, feeling a sense of loyalty but also a deep sense of dread, stayed back late one night. She hid behind the generator house. At midnight, a black SUV with tinted windows pulled up. A man stepped out. He wasn't a native doctor type. He looked like a high-flying businessman in a sharp agbada. Sade met him at the back door, handing over 3 heavy black nylon bags. "The neighborhood is suspicious, Sade." Sade hissed, her voice trembling. "The ceiling is overflowing. The energy you asked me to store is rotting the very roof over my head. I want out." The man's voice was like ice. "You wanted fame, Sade. You wanted the house in Lekki. The merchants don't take out for an answer. Collect the hair, keep the essence, or we will take the hair that is still on your own head." Desperation makes people sloppy. To keep up with the demands of the merchants, Sade began swapping wigs. She would take a client's expensive virgin hair for treatment and return a high-quality synthetic blend that looked identical but felt dead. The breaking point was when a young girl, a university student who had saved for a year to buy a Sade wig, came back crying. "Madam, since I wore this hair, I can't concentrate. I feel like my brain is being drained." Sade tried to bully her out of the shop, but the young girl's mother, a woman with no time for signature nonsense, arrived with a megaphone. The IGP, International Gossip Police, gathered. The secret was about to burst. The community elders and the local chief finally intervened. They didn't call the police, they called a meeting of accountability. They marched to the salon. Mrs. B.C. Lawson was at the front, holding a bottle of anointing oil like a grenade. They forced the door open. The smell hit them first, not the smell of decay, but the smell of old, stagnant energy. They forced Sade to open the locked drawers. They forced her to open the manhole to the zinc roof. What they found wasn't a shrine. It was thousands of bundles of hair, tagged with names, dates, and attributes like success, fertility, peace. Sade collapsed onto her velvet throne, the gold bangles on her wrists sounding like chains. "It wasn't Jiju," she sobbed, the signature mask finally cracking. "It was a trade. There are people, powerful people, who believe that hair is the antenna of the soul. They pay me to collect the essence of successful women. I thought I was just selling trash. I didn't know it would rot the roof. I didn't know it would rot me." The room went silent. It wasn't just the crime, it was the betrayal of trust. In a place where women come to feel beautiful, she had been harvesting their peace. The salon was closed for months. When it finally reopened, the gold mirrors were gone. The polar bear AC was replaced by ceiling fans. The zinc roof was gone, replaced by a simple, transparent one that let in every bit of the Lagos sun. Sade is still there. She's thinner, her turbans are gone, and her hair is cut short. She doesn't have signature in her name anymore. It's just Sade's place. Slowly, very slowly, customers returned. She started to style hair back, but now there are no locked drawers. She sweeps the floor in front of everyone and puts the hair in a clear bin that is emptied every hour. She doesn't talk about destiny anymore. She just says, "Let's make you look neat." The neighborhood has forgiven her mostly, but every time a new client sits in her chair, they can't help but glance up at the roof, just to make sure it's still clear.